Every night you become the easiest meal in the animal kingdom, and something out there decides not to eat you. Lie down the way you do every night, eyes closed, breathing steady, your hands resting loose on top of the blanket. For 8 straight hours you cannot hear, cannot see, cannot defend yourself. By any biological definition, you are meat. Slow, warm, unsuspecting meat. Now take the house out of that picture. Take away the walls, the alarm system, the locked door. Leave only a thin sheet of tent fabric between you and a forest where things actually live that could end you in 30 seconds. Wolves, bears, lions. Creatures that hear your pulse from across a clearing and see in the dark better than you see at noon. And you wake up in the morning, again. The logic does not add up. If you know anything about animals, you know a sleeping human is perfect prey. It does not run, it does not fight, it does not even register what is happening until it is already too late. A camp of sleeping people should be an open buffet for every large predator within 10 miles. But they do not come. Almost never. And the reason is not one thing. It is several layers of protection stacked on top of each other over millions of years. And the first one sounds like flattery, except it is just biology. You are not fast. You are not strong for your size. You cannot even see well in the dark. On paper, a human is a pretty pathetic animal. And yet, in 2017, a researcher at the University of California, Santa Cruz, named Justine Smith, played recordings of human voices next to mountain lions feeding on their own kills. Just talking, nothing threatening. 83% of the mountain lions fled in panic. Some abandoned meat they had killed themselves minutes earlier. An animal that can take down a full-grown deer in one leap heard a podcast and ran. But why should a mountain lion fear you at all? You are not growling. You are not baring teeth. You are just talking. The answer goes back 2 million years, to the point when humans became the most relentless hunters on the planet. We wiped out mammoths. We erased giant sloths, woolly rhinos, saber-toothed cats from entire continents, species that survived ice ages and did not survive us. In North America, we hunted wolves to near extinction. We killed predators so systematically for so long that only the descendants of the most cautious ones are alive today. This is not a metaphor. This is natural selection. The lion that approached a human camp too boldly died first. The one that kept its distance survived and passed that on. Over thousands of generations, caution stopped being a choice. It became instinct, wired in faster than the animal can think about it. Fine, say the fear is genetic. But how does a predator even know you are human if you are lying there silent and still? Through its nose. A nose that can be hundreds of times more sensitive than yours, sometimes tens of thousands of times. And here's the problem. You smell wrong. Not like a deer, not like an antelope. None of the prey a predator's hunting instinct is calibrated for smells like shampoo, sunscreen, and laundry detergent. Your body is a cloud of synthetic signals with no equal anywhere in nature. Underneath all of it, there is a primate smell. But the predator is not hunting a primate. It is hunting a specific, familiar silhouette of prey, and you do not fit that shape. You are not a target. You are an anomaly. And anomalies trigger caution in most predators, not aggression. Here is something that almost never makes it into these stories: the light from a campfire. Fear of fire is one of the oldest programs in the animal kingdom. Animals flee the smell of smoke even if they have never once seen a flame in their lives. It is not learned. It runs at a level that does not require experience. Your ancestors figured this out before farming, before pottery. Sleeping by a fire was not only about staying warm. It broadcast one simple signal into the dark. Something here controls fire. Stay away. But here is the surprising part. Even without a fire, even without walls, you are not as defenseless as you feel. In 2017, anthropologist David Sampson at the University of Toronto handed activity trackers to a community of Hadza hunter-gatherers in Tanzania. He wanted to test one idea, that inside a group, someone is always at least partly on watch. Across 20 nights of observation, he found only 18 one-minute windows where every single person in the group was asleep at the same time. The rest of the time, someone, not on purpose, not on a schedule, stayed in a light enough sleep stage to wake at an unfamiliar sound. You feel switched off when you sleep. Part of you is still on duty. And there is a myth worth breaking here too. The one from the movies. A predator on screen lunges at anything that moves. A real one does not live that way. A lion has no sick days. One serious injury, a broken leg, a torn eye, and the animal slowly starves because nothing in the wild sets a cast. So every attack is a calculation. How familiar is this prey? How predictable will it behave? Is the risk worth the calories? A sleeping human fails that calculation twice over. First, unpredictability. A predator has watched an antelope run 1,000 times and never once watched how a human behaves waking up screaming, holding a stick, surrounded by more humans. Second, silhouette. Standing up, you are taller and wider than most prey your weight, and an upright posture reads to almost every animal as a threat display. It is how gorillas intimidate. It is how bears stand to look dangerous. Even asleep, you do not fit the shape of an easy target, and you are almost never really sleeping alone. Humans camp in groups, and a predator understands group dynamics on an instinctive level because its usual prey also moves in herds. An antelope at the center of a herd is far safer than one at the edge. A predator is not just hunting prey, it is hunting the isolated one, the straggler, the one cut off alone. A camp of sleeping people is not one target, it is a group, and one person waking up to a noise will almost certainly wake the rest. For a predator running the numbers on every risk, the chance of setting off a whole group at once is exactly the kind of outcome worth avoiding. And I have to be honest with you here, because without this part, the video is just an advertisement for peaceful sleep. When it does go wrong, the story is never simple. In 1907, hunter Jim Corbett shot a tigress responsible for roughly 436 deaths across Nepal and the Himalayan foothills. When he examined her jaw, he found the answer. The upper and lower canines on one side had been shattered by a bullet from some earlier hunter, straight down to the bone. She could no longer physically hunt her normal prey. Humans were not a preference. They were the only thing left she could catch. A similar story clings to two lions from Tsavo, who killed dozens of railway workers building a bridge in Kenya in 1898. For decades, the assumption was the same: bad teeth, desperation, hunger. But in October of 2024, a team from the Field Museum and the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign did something that used to be impossible. They pulled DNA out of individual hairs trapped for over a century in the cracks of those lions' broken teeth, and published a result in the journal Current Biology that, I will admit, rewrote the story more than I expected going into this. The hair did not only belong to humans. Giraffe, zebra, wildebeest, from a herd that in those years grazed 50 miles from Tsavo. These lions were not clinging to the only prey available. They were hunting broadly, anything they could take down, and humans were only one line in a much wider diet. So it was never only injury, never only hunger. Something in the system had already broken beforehand, and that break worked like a permission slip. The pattern holds. An attack happens when a predator's normal calculation has already been corrupted by injury, by tourists feeding it, by a habitat that no longer offers what it used to. As long as the ecosystem is intact and the predator is healthy, the rule almost never breaks. And here is the last layer, the strangest one. The fear you cause does not stay contained. It ripples outward. Wherever mountain lions avoid people, deer populations grow. More deer means less vegetation. Smaller predators, foxes, raccoons, also keep their distance from humans. which lets the rodents they used to control multiply unchecked. We reshape entire continental ecosystems without ever touching most of the animals in that chain, just by existing. Smith tracked this exact effect in that same 2017 study. Mountain lions, frightened by a human voice, did not just flee, they returned to their own kills roughly half as often afterward, giving up calories they had already earned, only to stay away from the sound of us talking. One species, one inherited fear, and it spreads down the entire food chain, all the way to the last mouse in the underbrush. The lock on your door tonight is the same signal as that fire. Different material, same message. Something here is not to be disturbed. Tonight, you will lie down exactly the way you do every night. Your eyes will close, your breathing will slow, and somewhere at the edge of sleep, part of your brain will keep listening to the dark. That is not weakness. That is 10,000 generations of your ancestors closing their eyes the same way and waking up every single time. That jolt of unease at an unfamiliar sound is not a malfunction. It is proof the system still works. Whatever is out there knows exactly what you are. It already decided to keep its distance.